Hey there, my name is Matthew Rothenberg. I'm a part of Group E, working alongside Ryan Hagg, Griffin Roberts, and Griffin Bailey. We chose South Africa for our country for this project, and I'm in charge of just giving a short introduction and description of the land. So, South Africa is the southernmost country on the African continent. They have three capitals, which is pretty interesting, but they each represent a section of the government, so judicial, executive, and legislative. And those capitals are Pretoria, Cape Town, and Bloemfontein. And the racial groups, so there's 58.8 million people in South Africa, and they have four main racial groups, starting with black, white, mixed, and Asian. Black is the most predominant at 81%. Asians are at 9%. Whites are at 8%, and mixed at 2%.
South African's government has three branches similar to ours, and the executive branch is the current president Cyril Ramaphosa, who was elected February 18th, 2018, and gets elected every 5 years. The legislative branch consists of a parliament made up of two groups. The first group is the National Assembly, which has up to 350 to 400 members, and the National Council of Provinces represents the 9 provinces of South Africa and has about 10 members each. The judicial branch has higher and constitutional courts. The Constitution was drafted by the parliament first elected in non-racial elections in 1994, and since 1996, the Constitutional Republic of South Africa has had supreme law. But before the new government in 1994, the country went through years of apartheid. Throughout the 1940s and 1950s, the pro-Afrikaner National Party was in power and made numerous acts to segregate the blacks and whites in South Africa, from marriage to living arrangements to buying land. In 1970, the Homeland Citizens Act made by the South African government replaced about 3.5 million Africans and tried to take away their citizenships. The government even put equality activists like Nelson Mandela and his wife in jail. But throughout the 90s and the 21st century, the African National Congress has had increased popularity, which holds the majority in today's government.
Hey there, Matthew again. I am back to cover the topic of the economy of South Africa. So let's dive right into it. Starting with the GDP, they had a $350 million GDP in 2019. That was declining at about 0.5% each quarter of 2019. Now, their debt was equivalent to about 62% of their GDP in 2019, which is not too hot, but they have had a really good growth rate, GDP growth rate of 2.6% each year since 1993 all the way up to 2019. Now, the South African economy is really diverse and spread out, but they have three main sectors: agricultural, mining, and manufacturing. And one of the major companies in South Africa is an electrical utility called the Electrical Supplies Commission. It is state run and operated, and it provides so many jobs for the people of South Africa. Finally, I just want to run through the imports and exports. Their top exports are gold, platinum, diamonds, and cars. And interestingly enough, China and the US are their top export locations. Finally, their imports are crude petroleum and refined petroleum. And an interesting fact is that their imports actually went down $35 billion from 2012 to 2017.
How you doing? This is Griffin Bailey. I'm covering the culture of South Africa. In this country, the culture surrounding people within seems to be very diverse and unique in its own way. In this country, the people are drawn mostly to Christianity and others such as Islam, Hinduism, traditional African religions, and Judaism. As seen here, like the languages they speak, the South African religion is diverse, very diversified. In this particular country, there are roughly 12 different languages spoken, but however, the majority of the people within the country speak Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, and English. Over the years, within the various parts of South Africa, the people in each area have developed traditions that are kept close to heart each and every year. But within the Zulu nation, the people created an Ngoma dance, which is a traditional dance that usually comes from celebration in age, weddings, and pre-hunt periods. This dance revolves around high energy and involves high kick movements with the sound of beating drums and screeching chants. Other than traditional dances and events, there are much more to traditions than just celebrations. There are also traditional foods, music, and way of dress. In South Africa, the people enjoy food such as bjowers, which is a very popular sausage dish made from beef, pork, or lamb. Another famous dish is called potjekos, which is a stew-like dish made from boar and vegetables, boar being pig. Lastly, one of the most unique dishes, this is commonly made in South Africa, is the pastry dish called vetkoek. The vetkoek starts with submerging a hefty dough ball in vegetable oil and stuffing with a mixture of cooked ground beef. Lastly, within this country, the way of dress seems to be normally, men wear animal skin and, women will wear beads and some sort of skirt. But overall, South Africa's culture seems to be one that is filled with diverse individuals. And to wrap it up, it seems that although there are a variety of different languages and religions practiced within this country, the majority of their traditions, such as food they eat, the music they listen to, and the clothing they wear, are all very aligned with each other.
South Africa's Hofstede cultural dimension has a medium power distance score, which means that the people in the country believe that the government should exercise its power when it is only legitimate. Superiors consider their subordinates much differently, and vice versa. South Africa is an individualist society which has loosely knit social framework, which can be attributed to the years of apartheid, and it stresses a person's independence from the organization. It is also a masculine society where people live in order to work and is regarded as competitive, achieving, and successful. South Africa has a low uncertainty avoidance, which means it's a leisurely society. People in South Africa turn to technology to reduce their anxiety for the uncertain future by having burglar alarms and cameras around their houses. And South Africa also has a high indulgence rate where they have fun and have weak control over their desires and impulses.
The topic that I'll be covering in this video is a current event that has happened in South Africa. During the year 2018, South Africa held their fifth presidential election. The president prior to this election was a man named Jacob Zuma. Zuma held this position for nearly a decade, winning both the 2009 and 2014 elections. While he was in office, Zuma received at least a half dozen non-confidence votes. These votes stated that he was positionally responsible and is seen to no longer fit the position he holds. This led to his departure in 2018. In the 2018 South African presidential election, a man named Cyril Ramaphosa was named the new president. Ramaphosa had waited a long time for this and was ready to do whatever it takes to build South Africa into the country people wanted. When Nelson Mandela departed from office, he wanted Ramaphosa to be his successor, but quickly fell apart when Ramaphosa lost the presidential race. Although Ramaphosa did not win, he departed into the private sector, which helped benefit the government with millions of dollars. As he was working in the private sector, Mandela brought him up and helped develop the country's new constitution. Ramaphosa was a shepherd that wanted to ratify the constitution for a while, and now he has helped develop it. Through a long journey, Cyril Ramaphosa has finally fulfilled his dream.